All right, everyone, welcome into tonight's edition of Wave News Extra. Here we are on a Wednesday, October 8th, 8:05. Always appreciate you spending some time as we unpack and take a look at some of the day's big stories. Of course, breaking news as it happens, and can share that with you, including a pretty big announcement coming in from the White House when it comes to a potential ceasefire or some sort of accord between Israel and Hamas. So I'll forward and show you all some of the reporting that's come in from that. Here locally, though, I want to dive right into perhaps some of the visual impact. Some of you all may have seen these kinds of images already being shared online, but let me just take you to what our crew was able to see in the daylight now Wednesday morning, because these are the repairs that need to happen out in Jeffersontown because of Tuesday's relentless rain causing this pretty important road and this chunk of it to collapse. So this is Plantside Drive, one of the busier roads for J-Town's Industrial Park. We spoke to J-Town's Public Works Director, Wave News did, that because of the flooding, this portion collapsed on top of a pipe. You could see just the extent of the damage. So in essence, just to recap some of those details of the extent of the damage in our reporting today, utility crews have been cutting the water lines, putting gates. LG&E has been welding those gas lines, making sure no one's service, no one's utilities are being disrupted. In terms of rebuilding the road, that is still up in the air as to when it's going to start in earnest. But the city did meet recently with about 8 contractors, actually this morning. And we had a little bit more glimpse as to where the progress on those conversations to fix this part of Plantside Drive are going.
And I did ask the contractors, you have to be able to respond. If we pick you, Tuesday is a D-Day to turn in the date. If we pick you, you have to be able to start that day. If you're 3 weeks out, please walk away.
So as Public Works Director in Jeffersontown, Jimmy Franconia, telling us they hope to have the road ready for drivers again in about 2 months. So it's going to take that stretch of time to get things back to the way they were. Franconia pointed out it's been a pretty rough year, of course, for J-Town weather-wise back in April. In fact, I'll tell you, I was working that night with our crews when the EF3 tornado tore through a nearby industrial section of buildings, of offices. Of course, now this mess brought on by rain and that pretty intense storm. But Franconia, again, telling us tonight that they're grateful no one was hurt as a result of this collapse. Moving on to some more stories as they were happening throughout the day. Of course, Kentucky's largest school district facing a pretty large mountain to climb of the $188 million budget deficit. At his latest event today, new superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood for JCPS talked about how it got this bad and how leaders, including him, are going to fix it. Yearwood says the district has been operating too long, he says, with systems that lack alignment and accountability. Yearwood also says JCPS got money from the federal government after COVID, such was that kind of relief funding. But they used the money and prior budget surpluses. But when the money ran out, as it was going to eventually, Yearwood says, there was no plan in place to deal with how they were going to pay for things.
The district has operated too long with systems lacking alignment and accountability. We received ESSA funds during the pandemic, funds that help us hire nurses, purchase buses, and provide things like Chromebooks. But what didn't happen was a plan for when those funds ended.
Yearwood went on to say the district won't ask taxpayers to pay more money until the district balances its own budget. Those were his comments today at this forum. They plan to do that, he says, though, by making cuts at the central office. And, of course, the plan then to try and get back on track, how that might affect teachers, custodians, and bus drivers will certainly be a story we will continue to follow. You can always read, of course, the latest that we're able to gather online on wave3.com, and we get it up on air on Wave News and on the Wave News app as quickly as possible. An update for those of you who maybe check in, and we do these sort of updates at 5:30 for Wave News at 5, checking in with Myra and Brian. But around the time we had let you know this meeting in Oldham County for the school board was happening. The update from our crew who is working on the full report for you tonight on Wave News at 11 is that in the end, the board decided to oppose a potential decision to take LifeWise's Academy's proposal for a pilot program, in essence, to come in and offer what would be off-campus sort of curriculum for students, for parents who chose to opt in. But LifeWise Academy, being a faith-based organization that has chapters in other school districts, and in the past we've told you this was something of a discussion that generated some debate for parents on either side of supporting or criticizing the potential issue in Oldham County. LifeWise Academy, this would be an off-campus pilot program for a Locust Grove school in Oldham County. Kentucky law does say public school boards could and can partner with groups that give students instruction through religious or ethical programs. The big crux of what the board members were going to discuss tonight was reviewing what the state attorney general's opinion is on what's considered, quote, moral instruction guidance. Should they, can they, or, are they allowed to go one way or the other? In the end, so the final decision from our reporting team, it seems the board opposed to, go ahead and take the deal to start that pilot program. We're going to have much more on that tonight on Wave News at 11, and a report from our Julia Richardson, who's going to break that down for us. And on another subject matter of a story that continues to develop as far as an economic conversation, this is for bourbon drinkers, and around the world, apparently they're suddenly buying a lot less bourbon. A new report from the Spirits Council of the U.S. revealed a pretty steep second quarter drop in exports for all American spirits, and the group is claiming that tariffs, which have been the policy of the Trump administration, could be to blame, pointing out 16.1 million barrels of bourbon in Kentucky are a new record, but a downturn in exports means a lot of it has no place to go. This is where our Wave News reporter David Mattingly went to spend some time and found that the impact is already hitting home.
In a small warehouse on Baxter, Nulu Whiskey's Bob Nash has bourbon barrels stacked to the ceiling, and he wants to buy more.
We're looking for a little bit more space, to be honest with you.
Just so you can make room for those other barrels.
Correct. That is correct.
As a small craft distiller, Nash buys barrels from other distilleries and puts his own spin on a finished product. So it's good for him when a downturn in exports has the big distilleries swimming in bourbon. He can find better bourbon cheaper.
And as long as there's a problem selling bourbon abroad, there's going to be more bourbon barrels here for you to buy.
Correct. Very much so.
A mid-year report on exports from DISCUS, the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, reveals how U.S. distilled spirits exports declined sharply in a second quarter 2025 amid trade tensions. According to the report, exports to Canada were down 85%, the UK down 29%, Japan down 23%, and the European Union, a massive market for American spirits, down 12%. It presents unique problems for bourbon distillers who may plan 10 years in advance how much bourbon to make for future customers.
The science of projecting how much great bourbon to put in a barrel and in age is complex, and certainly this is having a direct impact on businesses throughout Kentucky.
In a statement released Wednesday, Kentucky Distillers Association President Eric Gregory calls for a return to tariff-free trade and warns that state taxes on its record number of aging barrels puts the industry at a disadvantage. The statement included a quote, "Just as you can't make bourbon overnight, we won't fix the problems we're facing overnight," Gregory said. We must continue to work with policymakers to find solutions and ensure bourbon's long-term future.
And that was our David Mattingly reporting. As far as any political backlash is concerned, both of Kentucky's Republican senators have previously expressed that they were opposed to tariffs, and in particular for products and exports that would affect Kentucky state holders. The only congressman reacting, though, to this latest report that we were able to check in with to the time David submitted the report was Congressman Morgan McGarvey. He called the tariff policy chaotic and said that that is hurting the state's bourbon industry. As we are preparing to go to break, I just was a reminder to let you all know about what the breaking news is. And so this is something you can find on wave3.com, but a huge story as far as world politics and geopolitics. This coming in information from the Associated Press, but Israel and Hamas agreeing to the, quote, first phase of a plan to end fighting and release hostages. But this is something you could certainly check out and read on wave3.com to pause fighting, release at least some of the hostages and prisoners, confirmed, or at least, posted publicly by President Trump earlier today. And where that is involved, top officials from the U.S. and Qatar traveling to an Egyptian resort for the third day of ongoing negotiations to end the Israel-Hamas war. So certainly, more to digest. Of course, it lays out in part some of the sticking points in the peace plan, but are all there for you to read further. Very easy to find, by the way, on the wave3.com homepage. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with much more of the stories in our neck of the woods tonight on Wave Extra, as I'm going to zoom out of that and bring you back in to the Wave Now studio. That's where we set up that website for you to check it out. All right, we'll be right back. And after the break, we're going to discuss this new pro franchise coming in and calling Lynn Family Stadium their home. It's a different kind of football, so to speak. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back. Welcome back in, everyone, to Wave News Extra here in the Wave Now studio. Going to be something perhaps when the time comes and they're able to have the sports team here for this breakdown discussion, something exciting for sports fans because pro football technically is coming and finding a home here in Louisville starting next year. The Kings are going to play as part of the new expansion of the United Football League, or UFL. Company leaders are calling it a, quote, coronation. They joined local leaders and other players to kick off the team's stay now here in Louisville. It's also part of a strategy by the UFL to move their teams into smaller, more intimate stadiums. Louisville was one of 3 cities now picked out of a total of 31 trying to court a team to come. Part of the decision was based on some TV ratings, data that shows Louisville loves watching sports. League officials also say the venue is a perfect size because the league is trying to downsize to get that sort of closer fan experience, intimacy. City leaders also call this a chance to bring more money and generate more of that revenue for sports that would to metro visitors and out-of-towners, tourists. The UFL's owner says this is a chance for the league to also find success in a market like Louisville.
Well, why is this going to work? I think this is going to work because the timing is right. We have a great team. We're not only looking at the right markets, we're also looking at the right venue. Eric, you have spoken to
And so that was UFL owner there, Mike Rapole. The league starts back up in late March, so the Kings are on the clock now to get players and staff all squared away. Rapole says having people with Kentucky ties is going to be important for the new team setting up. So as that will be something to look forward to. And not every day is going to look as rainy as this, of course, out at Lynn Family Stadium. But many sports fans, after getting word of the UFL's expansion into Louisville, they say they have some concerns with what's going to happen to the field. The players would go on. Concerns about wear and tear. All the activity can create some distress and then make it hard for players, whether that's either not just for the UFL players, but for the Racing Lou and Lou City soccer clubs, concerned for injuries there as well. So Wave News to talk to Lou City and Racing Louisville Vice President Jonathan Lintner about their talks about flipping the field for those games.
We'll obviously try to play a football game on a non-home weekend for soccer. But definitely if we were to have both events here on the same weekend, we will be playing football after soccer. I don't think we would want to have a football game, have the field get chewed up a little bit, and then have to go play a soccer game where it really does matter how the ball rolls on the pitch. You know, you don't have big gashes on the field.
The stadium says that they have been in talks with a club in D.C. that has multiple teams using their field to discuss how to best manage that particular practice. Some more stories and check-ins tonight. Louisville Downtown Partnership, they're launching a project that they hope makes some improvements to South 4th Street. These are some of the locations that they want to focus in on. And we do have some renderings and ideas of what this enhancement project is going to look like. New landscaping, streetscape improvements between Broadway and Muhammad Ali Boulevard. The work is going to stretch also to Guthrie Street from South 3rd to 4th Street. So this is the sort of block square that they're trying to cover. Other upgrades would be adding some new decorative fencing, a pet waste station, and updates to the irrigation system. This work would happen in 3 phases. It is expected to be finished early next month. So a much faster timeline as far as that's concerned for when we could expect to see some of these changes. Heading over to Louisville International Airport. Many airports, of course, dealing with some delays and issues inside terminals with the government shutdown ongoing. At our last check, operations were still reportedly normal. The Muhammad Ali International Airport saying there have been no impacts to staffing levels for TSA or air traffic control towers. The airport authority telling us staffing levels have stayed consistent as they were pre-shutdown. Some travelers will be put at ease to hear that. Other airports, though, are feeling some effects of the shutdown. The FAA is expanding the list of air control facilities experiencing staffing shortages. Nashville's International Tower has been impacted, as well as approach and departure facilities in Houston, Newark, Vegas, Boston, Indianapolis, and in Albuquerque. So we know that is one impact of what the shutdown is as far as, the federal workers and the impact there. Americans in general feeling the impact. By the way, if you were waiting for a tax refund, it may have to wait a little longer. This afternoon, the Treasury Department said it is furloughing more than 34,000 employees, nearly half of its workforce, as the White House now floats the idea some furloughed workers may not be entitled to back pay. Yamisha Alcindor reports from Washington.
Day 8 of the government shutdown, and there is no end in sight as federal workers and union leaders plea for a solution.
So today I call on leaders from both parties to sit down together, work out your differences, and find a solution that reflects the best of America, just like federal employees do every single day.
But so far, demands for compromises have not moved Republicans or Democrats. Today, the Senate voting again and failing again to pass a bill to reopen the government. Frustration spilling over on Capitol Hill.
How about you go down the floor and go vote to open the government up?
Now the shutdown, forcing federal workers still on the job to make some tough decisions.
Will I be able to pay my bills? Will I be able to pay my mortgage?
No American should ever have to choose between
Day 8 of the government shutdown.
Between serving their country and feeding their family.
Lack of funding also hitting programs designed to help struggling families, forcing states to make moves to save services in jeopardy, including the Women, Infants, and Children program that feeds more than 6 million low-income families.
you're a new mom, you got kids under the age of 5, an infant, we're taking care of you. We'll make sure it continues until the federal government gets its act together.
Democrats say they're fighting to keep health care premiums from skyrocketing and getting an unlikely Republican ally.
Or the health insurance issue, it's happening right now. These premiums are going to go up.
Meanwhile, as all this plays out, furloughed federal workers are worried they may not get back pay after the government reopens. A draft White House memo argues they're not entitled to back pay, though after past shutdowns, workers have received it. Yamichelle Sendor, NBC News, Washington.
We're approaching 8:25 on this Wednesday night. I want to show you, this is one camera we may not show oftentimes, but shows you a live look at the traffic thanks to the Trimark network. And traffic so far looking relatively smooth, and happy to say that the roads are drying and there's no more rain to discuss. Instead, we'll be discussing cooler temperatures as we look forward to the rest of the week. We're going to have the storm tracking team breaking down that for us tonight on Wave News at 11. And after the break, we're going to go over some more of today's stories, wrapping up Wednesday. And in fact, check in on folks who are having to transfer out, find those new homes with the plan to demolish Dosker Manor in downtown, and just see where things stand on getting people into their new apartments and new locations there. We'll take a quick break and be right back with much more of tonight's Wave News Extra. Welcome back in, folks, to tonight's edition of Wave News Extra. As a reminder, always appreciate you joining us, whether that's through the Wave Now app on your smart TV devices. That's, Apple, Fire Stick, Roku, any of those will work for you to connect with us. Available for you to check in and out of 24/7. We do offer, the programming there for you to check in on, live streams of our newscasts and our own original reporting and specials, all there for you. And also, with the community checking in on our different ways through social media. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. All they're available for you to check in with us, follow the latest information. And as we might be streaming these things out live, a great way for us to be able to share some of this information with you. So looking ahead at some, or I should say, as we kind of unwind this Wednesday night and look at more stories, want to have this update for you. We learned a woman is accused of drunkenly telling police she was not behind the wheel as they pulled her from the driver's seat after a crash happened. This happened around 3:30 a.m. Monday. Police say Sydney Underwood ran a red light and hit another car at Breckenridge Lane and Taylorsville Road. Officers say Underwood's car caught fire and that the other car was totaled. In a police report copy we've read, officers say Underwood appeared drunk and told them that she had not been driving, but a test showed her blood alcohol content was 0.411. Underwood faces several charges that include assault and driving under the influence. More updates. No one was hurt after firefighters had to rush to this vacant house that was on fire in West Louisville. Fire crews responded at around 11:30 this morning. Some callers saying there was smoke coming from this two-story house on West Chestnut Street. They didn't find anyone inside as they checked. The fire was quickly put out. Arson investigators are trying to figure out how this fire was started. And Louisville Fire says codes and regulations says this is a land bank owned property that will be boarded up. A check-in on Dosker Manor. Louisville Metro Housing Authority says it is making progress in getting people moved out of the longtime property. Last week, they say they vacated 10 units, so people living in 10 units. That puts their overall occupancy at 17%. And if you break that down into, the raw numbers, 112 people are still living there. So they're the last ones to have to find and help find them new homes. Building A is completely empty. LMHA decided to move residents out after a number of problems reported at the manor. Frequent maintenance issues for one, dozens of police responses to different kinds of crimes on the property, perhaps spurring that in another way. LMHA, the authority, hopes to have everyone out of the buildings by the end of this calendar year of 2025. The plan after that is to demolish and then rebuild the property in earnest. Tonight, some fears as far as in our consumer investigators. Social Security would run out of money that has some beneficiaries rushing in to claim as early as they can. Experts say the panic may cost a lot of recipients and beneficiaries in the long run. So in the latest for our consumer series, Watching Your Wallet, investigator Carice Jackman talked to an advisor about why it can pay to wait a little longer.
We all contribute to it with every paycheck, Social Security, but questions about the program's funding and future have people worried.
The truth of the matter is no politician is going to let Social Security fail. And so you shouldn't be scared into it because it's a mistake that will be with you for the rest of your life.
Robert Brokamp, senior advisor at the Motley Fool, says don't let fear push you into claiming benefits early.
I mean, you've worked for it, right? You've earned it. Why should you hold off on it?
Well, when you claim Social Security is up to you. You can do it as soon as 62, or you can wait until age 70. And for every year you delay, your benefit will go up anywhere from 5 to 8%, depending on your age. So if you can delay taking Social Security, you're going to create a bigger foundation of safe income that adjusts for inflation every year and is partially tax-free.
Brokamp says there are a few reasons to delay. One is to avoid losing benefits if you're still working.
For most people who are working, their full retirement age is 67. If you claim Social Security before that and you're still earning income, you could have to give back some of your benefits.
Another benefit to waiting, you lock in a higher monthly payment and get an extra boost from inflation adjustments.
The cost of living adjustment is actually applied to your future benefit as well. So you may hear that, if I delay Social Security, my benefit will get bigger 5 to 8% per year, but it's actually better than that. It's 5 to 8% plus inflation.
Brokamp notes some people, particularly those with health issues or in a financial pinch, may need to start early. But if you can, holding off can pay off. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
Approaching 8:33, this is another view from our skyscraper networks at the top of the roofs, looking at downtown. Not technically part of the SkyTrack network, but still enjoying to see the lights out there. Not much weather posing sort of challenges, let's say, for anybody out and about driving on this Wednesday night. A reminder, too, the storm tracking team, whenever these things are happening, and those are alert days of things that could change your commute or just where you need to go and how fast or safe you need to do this. Great resource to always have handy is the Wave Weather Now, the Wave Weather app itself. Wave Weather Now, of course, a resource where they'll stream here as well to connect with you through the Wave Now app and on our social streams as well. We'll look forward to that tonight on Wave News at 11. We're going to reset to go through some more stories, so appreciate you sticking around. We're going to take this brief break on Wave News Extra and be right back. We're back, folks, with more of tonight's Wave News Extra on a day where we're feeling more of those fall-like temperatures. Might be a great time for a bike ride. In fact, looking forward to the weekend. Cycluvia is taking over parts of Bardstown Road this weekend. The cyclists who join are going to have the road Sunday from Grinstead Drive down to Douglas Boulevard. 4-hour bike bonanza from 2 to 6 p.m. Leave the cars behind. You can walk, bike, or even skate around for the event. And there's much more information on what else you can access and tap into on our reporting on our website, wave3.com. Looking forward to that. This happened earlier today, an official appointment. Jefferson County's interim clerk was sworn in this afternoon. State Senator David Yates was appointed to the position by Mayor Craig Greenberg following the passing of longtime county clerk Bobby Holzclaw. And Yates, already a candidate who's going to run for a full term for Jefferson County Clerk when that time comes next year in 2026. He's going to serve out the remainder of Holzclaw's term, which runs through November of next year. That election coming up, a primary in May, the general election then in November. Yates, though, says for now he is excited to take on this new role.
I'm committed to maintaining integrity of our elections, which protects our democracy. With unwavering dedication, I will uphold the principles of fairness and security, ensuring that every vote is counted accurately and every citizen's voice is heard in the democratic process. My approach is rooted in transparency and communication, fostering trust and confidence in our electoral system. I'm thrilled, I'm more than thrilled to really bring modern technology to not only improve our security, but to streamline our services, making it more accessible and efficient for everyone.
Yates resigned his seat in the state legislature, stepping into this new role as interim Jefferson County Clerk. Heading over to part of Okolona, some JCPS students helped break ground on a brand new elementary school. This is going to be on Preston Highway near Okolona Park, where the current school is. So the original Okolona Elementary was built back in 1972. At the groundbreaking, Superintendent Brian Yearwood says this new facility will be designed to reflect the way students learn today in the year 2025.
We've ensured that the new Okolona Elementary is built to last and represents a smart use of our taxpayers' dollars. We're keeping things efficient by utilizing things like geothermal energy and cooling, and it's a highly energy efficient approach.
Construction is going to be about $30 million for this project, and it's set to be complete by the summer of 2027. Bringing you back here into the Wave Now studio, coming up as we're going to round out tonight's edition of the stream. But before we do that, I want to leave you with one last look at some things happening around our community. Maybe you've driven by the Expo Center these past couple of days, probably wondering what all the equipment is that you might catch in those little windows and spurts to see what might that be off in the distance. Well, it's part of this year's Utility Expo, showcasing all the latest machinery and gadgets and innovations there. Wave News reporter Marissa Berg stopped by to learn a little bit more about how some of these machines help clear the area, in fact, after Tuesday's rainfall.
Officials with the Common Ground Alliance say that the Kentucky Expo Center is the best place to show off what these machines can do, both inside and outside. When we look at the heavy rainfall that we just saw this week on Tuesday, officials say having some of this equipment on site meant it was at the right place at the right time.
This equipment is to help keep our community safe and connected.
Machines like this help reveal the buried infrastructure that keeps our water running, lights on, and homes heated.
It's where a giant sweeper and a giant pressure washer come into contact together to expose underground utilities, or in the case of last night, vacuum out manhole covers or job sites that are flooded with water and debris.
And there are miles and miles of machines that can do this and more at this year's Utility Expo. Organizers estimate thousands of people from across the country will check out the different equipment covering the Expo Center, both inside and outdoors. The layout of the Kentucky Expo Center allows people to participate in live hands-on demonstrations. Organizers say it also helps reach the next generation of construction workers.
It's one thing to sit in a classroom and learn, but it's another thing to get that piece of equipment in your hand and to get excited about your career and where it could be and know that there's unlimited potential.
One of the big points that officials want to make sure that people understand is to call before you dig. And the number to call is 811. They say that number is not just for professionals, but for homeowners too. Marissa Burke, Wave News.
All right, thanks to Marissa there. By the way, Marissa's reporting and all of our Wave News team, their stuff gets uploaded as soon as possible into the wave3.com homepage, which you can discover on the different tabs. Scroll down. Some of the big, of course, our big local stories come up top here, and you can scroll down to see everything that is updated, even big breaking international stories like the talks of the peace deal between, or the negotiations out in Egypt between Israel and Hamas, and even discussions whenever those updates do come in for the government shutdown, something that will be immediately updated here on the Wave 3 website, pushed and sent to your phones through the Wave Free app. Great tools to always have handy as you go about your day and night. And a reminder, of course, the team is still working hard in case there's any breaking news, and we're checking in on it. We're going to share that with you tonight on Wave News at 11. So make sure to follow in some reporting from our Julie Richardson, our Meredith Lee, and of course, the latest breakdown, hoping to a much more fall-like set of days ahead as we round out this first full week of October. Always appreciate you folks checking in with us on the Wave Now app and on our different social media streams. I'm Jose Stosaya here in the Wave Now studio. We'll be back here tomorrow night at 8:05. Until then, take care. We'll see you soon.